All right, so this is our second interview, and our second interview is with Miss Lora Lee.
Hello.
I don't know if you have anything. Well, I thought you said you had something available and ready to use at the beginning of the meeting, some pictures and your site.
Yes, I thought I would, in case anyone didn't know, I do have a website. This has a few of the different pictures I've taken over the years. Not all of my hunt pictures are here. This is when I went to London. It's one of my favorite ones. Wait, oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Let's see if I try again. Okay. Oh, I can't share screens. Can you fix that? Shannon?
Now, I wonder why you can't share screen.
Let's see.
You can have it where she's a co-host.
Okay.
It's under the section for security.
Okay, I see that at the bottom. Enable waiting room, allow participants to share screen. Got it.
Okay, now I'm sharing. All right. And so this was one of my pictures that I took when I was in London, and my website, as you can see up here, is llchapman.com. And it's hosted by Fine Art America, which I chose because it's not that expensive and I don't sell a lot. I'm not doing a lot of shows. So it's like $30 a year, and then I pay for the domain name, which links to it. So that's super helpful. And
that's a beautiful picture.
Oh, thank you. I just loved it. It was right place, right time. Sometimes that's all it takes with
it's
people.
Such a story, because you've got all the shadows and the light, and then the two people and the right coming into the sunlight there. That's really pretty.
I had a big editing choice because I almost wanted to cut that off to make it a stronger leading line, but I really liked how it grounded it, having the dark all around them. And so that's where I kept that there. But it did make me think. And then I picked out a couple hunt photos that you guys might recognize. This one was not that long ago, Leaf, which I saw just poking out of one of those grates, those water grates. And then this one I took a long time ago for round 25, but I still think it's funny. The word was underwear. And so it's not as risque as some of them could have been, but I mean, who hasn't been there sometimes,
True.
And then this one was kind of a retake of one I did. We had a word strawberry once, and I shot it like this with a bunch of white eggs and a strawberry right here. And so then I redid it when we had the word egg. And I still like it. And so those were some of the pictures I picked. Sometimes I'm kind of a literalist with my words, and I don't get as creative as some people. Although I could, I guess. There's always time, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
and if that's your style, then that's your style.
That's it, isn't it? Yeah. I don't do a lot of photography of people or portraiture per se. I tend to use more things or landscapes or outside world. But I consider myself to be a non-technical shooter, meaning the mechanics of the camera are not my strong suit per se. I don't go so far as to shoot on auto. I try to have some control over it, but it's never been my real comfort zone. And then I also don't do a lot of post-processing, generally about like one song's length. If I'm listening to music, I want to be able to process my picture in about 3 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I figure I don't typically spend much more than that on a certain image for the most part.
Well, for anybody who is a non-technical shooter, I mean, that's pretty much the way that it is.
Right.
So if but
Yeah, there was a round not that long ago where I did all of my images on my cell phone because I was in the middle of moving and I had packed up all my gear. I couldn't decide which lens to keep out, and I did everything on my cell phone, and it was actually kind of fun. It was simpler in a lot of ways, and I still got images I was happy with, and just goes to show it's not always the gear that does it.
Well, I'm going to launch into some questions for you.
Okay.
These are the questions that we had for Dave as well.
Okay.
When did you start in the hunt and why?
Well, I was on Google Plus, like a lot of us were in the beginning, and I noticed a few pictures. So I think from the hunt, after it was finished, I think my first hunt was maybe March 2012 or 2013.
Mhm.
So I think it was the third round. So I wasn't in the very beginning. And I got into it because I had just recently learned about some of the photography groups on Google Plus, and I was doing a Project 52, which, if you're not familiar with it, is where you take a picture every week on a certain
Mhm.
subject, and then you look at all of them. And it was really teaching me a lot. I think the first thing I participated with photography was Tree Tuesday. I figured out that on Tuesdays, people took pictures of trees and tagged them with Tree Tuesday. And that was kind of my beginning of actively taking pictures to share them online with social media.
Gotcha.
Although I had been taking pictures and posting them on Facebook and getting a good response. So I was getting more comfortable taking pictures and enjoying it.
That's interesting because I had started a blog, and that was how I got on Google. And then I started looking at all these pictures, and I had done photography in high school and really liked it. And so I started on Google rather than Facebook, because I had Facebook years before.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't shooting then that the same way, you know.
It's funny you mentioned high school. In high school, I had been taking pictures, and my stepfather at the time thought I had a good eye, and they got me a nice camera. But at that point, my pictures were more of people and of little teenage escapades, and I was often the subject of the pictures. So I didn't see that I was really being a photographer. I thought I was more of a ham, just getting in front of the camera all the time. But I see now it was me just beginning to set up and create images a certain way,
Yeah.
you know.
That's true.
But then I got distracted with, other teenage activities, and photography kind of fell by the wayside. I didn't have any formal photography training in high school, though.
Okay, so the next question is, what do you shoot with?
I use a Canon. What is it? Let me see. Hang on. That's how non-technical I am. It's a Canon 6D, and I literally got it for the hunt in 2015 before we went to Las Vegas. I thought, oh, I better have a fancy camera to be around all these real photographers. So I barely knew how to operate it, but I brought it, and people showed me things, and I think I'm right now on it. Shannon might recognize that lens because we were at Photoshop World once, and I literally won that lens. It was a door prize.
Oh, wow. How cool.
And I was pretty excited. I mean, the cost of the lens was more than my airfare, my hotel, or anything. So I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening.
It was exciting.
It was exciting. Yeah.
Wow, that's fun. I forgot my thought now.
Well, I think a lot of the people that I was shooting around before I had this, I had a Rebel that I had gotten from my housemate at the time, and he'd had an older Rebel, and I was using that in the beginning, and that seemed to work. It was adequate, I do feel outgunned sometimes by the camera, like it can do more than I'm making it do.
Yeah, I get that. I know that when we went in 2015, weren't you in the startup class for what is it? What was it? One of the mentorships.
I did a Ron Clifford mentorship.
Yeah.
So I did do that. But I didn't do many of the themed mentorships that I can think of.
I had just started in one of the mentorships on just shooting with your camera, just starting with it and shooting in RAW when we went to 2015. And I was so intimidated by shooting in RAW because all I had been doing is shooting in auto. And so I started shooting in RAW then. And oh my gosh, I was just like so intimidated by that camera at that point.
Well, at a certain point, I went back to school for photography at the local community college here.
Yeah.
And I had a terrific experience there. I have one more science class, and then I'm done with my degree, which will be great. It's just a hobby degree, really. It's not like I'm, going to use it to do anything really, but it'll be a nice sense of accomplishment. But I think that was one of the places I really learned to look at other people's art. One of my teachers, Ken Alley, was just amazing. And he really helped us as students. Well, he would always call us artists. So that's where I got comfortable thinking like, oh, maybe I am an artist, because he would always address us as artists, which was really nice. And he taught us how to look at other people's art and give feedback, not just that's good, but like specifically, what do you like about it?
Yeah,
Tell them
what
that.
exactly.
And I find that that's so helpful, looking at the hunt pictures or other pictures, to really kind of narrow in on what is impactful for me, what I like about it.
Well, that leeways right into the next one, which is which are your favorite subjects to shoot?
I think I like inanimate objects because they're such docile subjects. They let you just arrange them. They just sit there. My sweetheart is a promising model in the sense that he lets me take pictures. Remember that last one we did? What was it, like startle or reaction, where I had that foot coming on a Lego? That was his foot. So he's game for a lot of stuff, which I appreciate him not being camera shy on things like that.
That's good.
But yeah, definitely inanimate objects are my favorite things to shoot. And in fact, for Christmas, I got a little light box, so I'm excited to use that.
Oh, good. So what do you struggle with?
Well, the technical part I struggle with, like really, focal length. I couldn't really give you a good definition of that. Remembering to check my settings more often than I do, I think would be helpful. Let's see. And I think I sometimes struggle with, like, I don't learn the techniques because I get impatient and move on. I think if I would get a little more patient with myself as I'm trying to learn new things, I would probably succeed more with it, but I get too impatient.
Okay. All right. So your worst photo experience.
Oh, okay. Well, I would have to say I went on a non-hunter photo walk. It was a full moon walk around in Big Sur, around this lighthouse. And so I drove down there, which is a couple hours from where I live in Northern California, at night. And I knew some of the photographers, but there were some others that I didn't know. And then we took all a bunch of pictures, and then we went out for a meal, like a lot of times we do on these photo walks. And this gal I sat next to was super critical of all my images. And it was really disheartening. She was just really I didn't ask for like, oh, what would you do different or whatever, but she was just like, oh, overexposed, or, oh, that's not in focus. And she was just like ramming all this feedback down on me. Eventually I just kind of shut down and put down my camera and just like tried to look away, and talk to someone else. But I think that was the most disheartening time that I've had.
That would be, yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
glad like 99% of the photo walk experiences I have are not like that. I'm glad it wasn't my
Right.
first one, or that I wasn't super, set back that way. But
We had so much fun when we all went to what was it, Santa Monica? Remember
Santa Monica, right? And we went with
Yeah.
the Trey Radcliffe walk, and then we
Yeah.
went to that restaurant. We had a hoot. That was great.
Yeah, that was really that was a good turnout. I mean, there had to have been over 100 people there.
I think so.
Yeah. Your best and worst photographic advice you've been given.
Let's see. Well, it sounds so basic, but it's really been helpful. And I got it from my teacher, and it was check the edges. Like before you take the picture, look carefully around the edge of the thing and make sure you don't have any extra things in it. And I know you can always crop them out or whatever, but it focuses me to be more conscious when I'm clicking it. Because I mean, digital can't film pictures are free, so it'd be easy to just click, 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 click. So I think that was it. And I think the worst photographic advice was probably some technical thing that I didn't absorb. I know I've been out trying to take night photography with people, which is actually very technical, at least the way it was being explained to me. And I just could not fathom it. I was trying really hard, and I'd read it.
You really do have to get your lighting and timing and all of that.
Yeah.
down.
And so I think that was probably the hardest that I've run across for that. But yeah, again, it sounds so basic, but checking the edges, I think, makes for better photography. You get a cleaner picture. You don't have to do the mop up afterwards. And it makes me really look at what's in my frame, which is, ultimately the goal anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you working on anything currently right now?
I can't say that I am other than the hunt words. I'm just still kind of checking those out, trying to get a feel for them. I don't have any bright ideas right out of the bat. Although somehow I do want to use my new photo box. So it's probably be little things in the photo box to try and capture some of them.
There you go.
But that's my main thing right now is doing the hunt words. And I'm grateful for the hunt words because they really do keep me in the photography game where I might get lazy otherwise.
Yeah.
Or busy, I should say. Between having a new
Well,
puppy and a new house and working full
yes.
time, you know.
That's a lot of, yeah. Yeah. So the last question that I have, and it might not even, but there might be something that you use though.
Uh-huh.
Do you like certain software for editing more than others for creating your image, or do you use more than one? I mean, do you use any apps at all?
Well, on my phone, my iPhone, I use one called Camera Plus that came out when G Plus came out. And so I do my phone editing with that one, and it has, you know, everything on it. You can do exposures and highlights and shadows. There are filters as well, but I find it super helpful. And I have the paid version, which I think was like $5. So it was not that much. And then for editing from my big camera, I use just the Adobe Photoshop. I subscribe to the creative thing.
So
cloud.
you are editing. You are doing some technical stuff.
Yeah,
because you are using.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good.
But
That was
I
all
can't
I
say
had.
I
If
know
anybody
everything
else-
about Photoshop. I really still feel like I'm struggling. I'm not a good learner video wise, which is why the classes were super helpful. But now with everything going on,
Do
I'm
you?
not doing it.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because I was just going to say, can you go in and get a class?
Well, I
But-
have before. I took a Photoshop class before, but it was years ago, and I haven't actually stuck with it as much. The program's advanced. And what was funny is I thought, well, I'm in over my head. I had talked my way past the prerequisite because I thought, oh, I use Lightroom. I can move to Photoshop real easy, and I'll just skip the prerequisite. And I was so far over my head. So I thought, well, I'll try and sit by somebody who knows what's going on so they can help me. And I sort of did, but somebody else thought I was someone that could help them. And so I had this other person that knew less than me sitting next to me looking for help. And it was just like, this plan isn't working.
Well, if anybody else has any questions, if you want to go
Miss
away
Tracy?
from your share screen, Laura.
Okay,
Lee.
yeah, I'll stop sharing screen. Let's see.
And then if there's anybody else that has any
Let's
questions,
see.
yeah, there we go.
Pardon me.
So did anybody else have any questions for Lora Lee?
There's some chat. Are those questions?
I was just making a comment about your shot in Santa Cruz with the car and the roller coaster reflecting on it. I thought that was an
Oh.
amazing picture. I love that.
Oh, here, yeah. Let's see. Thank you for that. When Lori and I met, I had shown at Open Studio or Open Shows, which is an event where photographers get to show images, and I had done a whole series on the boardwalk, which is an amusement park here, and that was one of them. Let me see if I can share that one though, because that is a fun picture. And if you look very carefully, I'm in it too, sitting there taking the picture. Let me try sharing screen again. That's the picture he's talking about there.
Oh, yeah, that is cool.
Oh,
And then see right in the middle, right here, that's me.
Which is almost impossible to take a shot of a car without some kind of reflection of yourself. So
Which is true. Which is true.
it's so small you can barely notice it.